Hey everyone, thank you for watching. Today's video I'm excited to do because it is going to be a new declutter, and this week I am working on my bronzer collection. So I do have all of my single bronzers here. Any bronzers that I have that are in a face palette or a duo trio, I will be doing those in a separate face palette video. So I have all of my single bronzers here. I'm going to be going through each one, swatching each one, giving my thoughts on it, and then sharing if I am going to be keeping it or putting it into my pass pile. I will link my declutter playlist down below if you want to catch any more of these from me, but let's go ahead and get started. I always feel very overwhelmed at where to begin, but let's start off here. This is from TheBalm. This is the Take Home the Bronze bronzer. Mine does say Oscar. It was renamed to Oliver, just so you know. And this has been a favorite of mine pretty much since these came out. These got a lot of love and a lot of attention, and I feel like for good reasons, because I feel like this is just a good product. There are multiple shades in the Take Home the Bronze bronzers. This one, I believe, is the lightest one. It's a little bit more cool toned also, so I actually use this as a contour powder the most, and then I will add in another bronzer, but if need be, I can use it as a bronzer. I can use it on my eyes. I've done that before too. It's just a really great product. I've recommended it for a while now, so we'll be keeping this one. One of my more affordable bronzers, I think this is my most affordable bronzer. I do have a bronzer collection tag video if you would be interested in checking that out. I can link it up in the cards. But my most affordable bronzer is this one here from e.l.f. Cosmetics. This is one of the primer infused bronzers, and this is in the shade Forever Sunkissed. Swatch is right here. It's really beautiful. It's very soft. Even when I swatch it, it's just very soft and smooth. It's very easy to blend out. It looks really natural on me. Also very nice and long wearing. I'm a really big fan of this formula, and these retail for around $6. Definitely keeping this one too. I also have a couple here from Nars, and these did come in PR, and they sent quite a few bronzers. These were the two that I picked out for myself and the ones that I have been trying, but it's kind of hard. I believe that this one is Casino and this one is Samoa, but they were like stuck in there, so they've like stuck together. It was a whole thing. It was a whole thing. But this is the one in Casino and then the one in Samoa. So again, they came with a few. I gifted quite a few out, and I decided to keep these for myself. Swatches, we have Samoa here and then Casino. I will say I didn't feel like either shade match for me was like absolutely spot on. Like I could make them work, but there's other bronzers that I reach for so much more often than these. And I feel like Nars, their bronzers are pretty popular, but for me, I haven't really found one that I'm just like super in love with. I have a couple of face palettes also from Nars. There's one face palette in particular that I go into quite a bit because I really like the bronzer, the blush, and the highlight, all three in that trio. So I know that I will still have that in my collection. So I'm actually going to go ahead and declutter both of these. This bronzer is from Too Faced. This is their Sun Puppy Bronzer. It is obviously just a completely adorable bronzer. This is currently in my Shop to My Stash bag. I did an update on that recently, so that's where I pull out some products that I feel like I need to give more love to, and I wanted to pull in the Sun Puppy Bronzer. It is really pretty. Obviously, like I just swirled my finger through all of this to get a swatch for it because it's kind of impossible to be like, oh no, I'm just using this shade or just using this shade. Kind of hard to do that, so I just swirl it together. But honestly, the shade match was a lot better on me personally in my skin tone than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be much too light on me. I am going to be keeping this one. This is from Charlotte Tilbury. This is the Contour Wand Easy Contour. I have the shade Fair Medium for this one. So these are products that have really surprised me from the brand. I was not expecting to enjoy these. I don't have a lot of cream and liquid products, highlighters, bronzers, blushes. It's just not a favorite of mine. This is such a beautiful product. Just like I've mentioned with the highlight, it's just so natural. It's so effortless. It's so easy to blend. Kind of along the lines of how I feel the Charlotte Tilbury brand is, like naturally beautiful, effortlessly beautiful, yourself, but elevated. I mean, these products completely make sense to the line, and I really do love them, so I am keeping this one. So this is a new product from TheBalm. This is the Bronzilla bronzer, contour, and shadow. I've mostly been using it as a bronzer though. So the Balm is undergoing a lot of new branding, like new packaging. And so this is kind of an idea of what the new bronzers are going to be looking like. And this is really pretty. I also mentioned this in my bronzer tag. I mentioned it, I think it was the underrated that I mentioned, because even though this is newer, I haven't heard a lot of people talking about this, especially in comparisons to the Take Home the Bronze bronzers that got so much love. I swatched it right here. It's one of those that feels it feels very soft and smooth. It's very easy to build up because it actually is a little bit lighter than I thought it was going to be looking at it in the pan, but it's very easy to build up. It kind of gives off like a very nice airbrushed look to the bronzer, and I've been really happy with it. So I'm going to be keeping this one. So I see one of my just like single pans here. I was really proud that I remembered to grab this out because sometimes I do not. So this is from Makeup Forever. This is the S112 contour shade. I bought this because a bunch of people were talking about it at one point, and I was like, I need that S112. And I just pretty much never use it. Just like how I said, like it's hard for me to even remember to grab these for collection videos or declutter videos. I pretty much never reach for this in my makeup collection. This is the swatch of it over here. Again, this one's going to be a little bit more cool toned because it is, I believe it is specifically said to be a contour shade, but I went back and forth because, you know, one of my first thoughts looking at it is like, I really want to keep it because I think that it's beautiful. It's so pretty. A second thought was, but you never use it. My third thought is like, well, maybe you should, you know, put it into a shot my stash and maybe you'll use it more. It's just something about the way that I work. I just don't reach for these types of products. I wish that I did. I wish I could remember. I wish, but I don't, and it's harder for me. And I definitely have a lot of bronzers. I have a lot of my go-to bronzers. And this is one that I feel like if I really did enjoy it and I really did love it, I would remember to go back into it. You know, I have my Kathleen Light single blushes that she did with Colourpop in the Zodiac collection. I have those in the same palette that I have this, and I remember to go into the blushes. I don't remember to go into this. So it's still a nice product. It's very barely used. I can easily pass it along to someone who's going to get some more use out of it, but I am actually going to declutter this. From Milk Makeup, this is their cream bronzer, and I have the shade Baked for this one. This is one that I purchased because so many people raved about it, even though I knew I didn't like cream products and I didn't think I was gonna like this one, and I ended up really enjoying it actually. I'm really glad that I purchased it, and again, because this isn't my go-to formula, I don't have a ton of cream products in my collection, and each time that I've done a declutter, this has been the one that has one out, and I usually end up decluttering the other cream bronzer or contour products that I have because I'm like, you know, this Milk one does me just fine. Again, I think that it's really easy to blend out. It's not too like drying on the skin. I'm just a fan of this one. I like the color on me too, so I'm gonna keep this one. One of my OG bronzers. This is from Becca Cosmetics. This is the Capri Coast bronzer. I have tried to pan this baby and nothing has happened. There is, I mean, I don't know if you can see it really on camera, but there's like a significant dip. Like when I go like this, like my finger can barely touch the bottom because there's such a large dip in there. It's a really pretty bronzer. I did go ahead and swatch it right here. It has a little bit of shimmer to it. This was one of the first bronzers that I was using that did have some shimmer that I was like, okay, maybe I'm not mad, because for the longest time it was like matte bronzer, matte bronzer, matte bronzer. And now I love a good shimmer bronzer, but the Becca Capri Coast was really one of those first ones that I was like, hey, I kind of like this look. This is cool. I would love to hit pan on this one day. I want to keep it because I want to see if I can do it. And it's also just a pretty bronzer. It's one that I continue to reach for it and pull it out from time to time. So yes, I'm gonna keep my Capri Coast. So this one here is from Tower 28. This is another cream product. This is their Bronzino bronzer in Best Coast. Okay, so I did have Tower 28 send this one over to me, and unfortunately the shade is just not the best match for me. So this is the swatch of it right here. So you can see it's, you know, it's a little bit deeper, but it's also, it has some red to it. And just on my skin tone, I don't think that it looks the best. It also does have a little bit of shimmer to it. I know that they have a shade lighter in their bronzers, and I think that's the one that I need. It was one that I was interested in trying myself, but it kept selling out at Sephora. And even when Tower 28 sent me a package, that bronzer, they still didn't even have it. So it's why they sent me this one. But even though I actually do like the formula on it, I do think that it's pretty, I'm just not going to be wearing this shade because it doesn't look the best on me personally. So I'm actually going to go ahead and pass this one along. I'm sure I can find someone that it would be more suitable for. So this is going to go on my pass pile. I am quite the fan of this one here from Ofra Cosmetics. Oh, this is the one that I did in collaboration with them. This is my bronzer duo in River. You see what I did there? Okay, so this is my bronzer duo from Ofra. We have a matte bronzer on one side and then the shimmer bronzer on the other. Obviously a big favorite of mine. I like to use the matte side. I like to use the shimmer side. I like to use them together. It's obviously just an absolute favorite staple bronzer of mine. Still available now at Ofra Cosmetics and also Ulta Beauty, which is very exciting, but obviously I'm keeping River. Okay, next up from Physicians Formula, this is the Butter Bronzer. This is quite an OG. This was, you know, such a raved about bronzer for such a long time on YouTube. Everybody was talking about it. Everybody was using it. And this is another one that I've tried to pan, have been unsuccessful. There's quite a dip right here. Quite a dip right there, but still unsuccessful on the panning front. This one is pretty light. I believe the shade that I have is, yeah, this is the light bronzer. So it is pretty light. Now this is one that initially when I pulled it out, I didn't even really think twice about it. I was like, yeah, of course, it's a butter bronzer. I'm definitely keeping it. Not even just to use, but just as one of those products to like reference, you know, that YouTuber thing. But as I actually pulled it out and I started to swatch it, I was like, wait, do I really need to keep this? Because the clasp is broken. It broke a while ago, but it doesn't stick. And even swatching it, it just, it almost has kind of like that dried out feeling to it. And I just don't know if I would really realistically be wearing it all that much anymore. And, you know, I thought about like, oh, you at least have to keep it. I mean, I believe that I did mention this one in my bronzer tag also, but I don't know, for some reason, I just don't really feel that need. There's some products where I'm like, I really, really don't want to get rid of it. And then there's others that I'm like, I'm okay to do that. And I'm actually okay to say goodbye to the butter bronzer. I have surprised myself. I did not see this coming, but I'm gonna do it. Next up, I have my bronzer from Lawless Beauty, and this is very strange to me because I did purchase this. I purchased this myself from Sephora, but it had nothing on the back of it, and I'm pretty sure it's supposed to. This is the lighter bronzer though. I believe there's only 2 shades of the bronzers, but I believe I got the lighter one, but I can't quite remember the name. Lawless Beauty, I'm just a big fan of the brand. I've purchased almost every single product that they've released now, and it's one of those that like I would love to do a collection video one day and kind of do like my best and worst. I did go ahead and swatch it right here. This is one where the shade match isn't like absolutely perfect on me, but it's pretty good. It's not the most blendable bronzer that I own, but it's pretty good. And again, I'm just a fan of the brand and I would like to keep this around, so I'm gonna hold on to this one. Next up, I have another favorite in my collection. This is from Marc Jacobs. This is the Tantastic Omega Bronze Bronzer, and I'm such a fan of this one. I love the mirror. I love the bronzer. It's so beautiful. It's so natural. It's so pretty. It's so easy to blend. It's just a favorite bronzer of mine. I know some people have said that they don't love this one because they actually hit pan too quickly and then it breaks, because I believe they're saying like underneath this is just hollow. So once you hit pan, or if it breaks, then it's just going to crumble. But if you are like me and you are either incredibly light-handed or you have a larger makeup collection, and then if you combine those two together, I've had this bronzer for a very long time and just look at it. Like, I mean, I do not have that issue yet. So I also got this one on sale. I got it with like one of the 20% discounts at Sephora, and I feel like I'm doing just fine. I feel like I'm getting my money's worth out of this, and I just love it. So I'm going to be keeping that one. Next up, this was in my bronzer tag as my most expensive bronzer because it is Tom Ford. This is the Ultimate Bronzer in 03 Bronze Age. I did have a subscriber gift this to me, which is just, you know, an incredibly sweet and kind and generous gift to give to me, because I don't really own any other Tom Ford makeup. I don't know why I put the really in there. I don't own any other Tom Ford makeup. It's very expensive. I hear good things about the brand, but it's been a no-go for me. This is a really pretty bronzer. Here's the swatch of it right here. Sometimes I can feel like it can just pull just slightly orange on me, but not too bad. If I use a light hand and I really blend it out, I feel like it looks pretty good. And this is just, like, this is a special one. This is one of those bronzers that I actually misplaced it for a while. I somehow ended up putting it into a giveaway box, like just a giveaway box that I have around my house. I slowly fill up boxes and then send them out to people. I'd accidentally put this into one of the boxes, and this was one that I immediately was like, where's my Tom Ford bronzer? In comparison to the Makeup Forever that it was like, I kind of forget that I have it. This was one where I was like, where is it? Where is it? And I finally found it and found it in a giveaway box. I was like, oh my goodness. But yes, I will be holding on to the Tom Ford. Next up, I have this one from Colourpop. This is their pressed powder bronzer in Talk to the Palm. So I also mentioned this in my bronzer tag, and I kind of created my own question and was like, what bronzer do you still have in your collection for whatever reason that isn't a good shade match on you, but you still keep it? Because bronzers, it's you can kind of be a little bit off one way or the other, but if there's one that's like really far off, it's typically going to be really hard for you to wear it. And that's what this one is to me. This is just not my correct shade. And I just can't pull it off very well. But for some reason, I kept keeping it around. You know, I said that I don't have, this is my only other Colourpop bronzer. So sometimes I like to do a full face and I can pull it in. But I had intentions of keeping it, especially after kind of giving my reasonings. But honestly, it's like, why? I just will not use it. I know that I'm not going to be using it. So I'm actually going to declutter this one. This is another one where I really thought that I was just going to keep it around just for like, oh, okay, like I have a Colourpop bronzer, but it's like, but I'm still not going to use it. So why? So I'm gonna put this in my pass pile. Sometimes with my declutters, I like slowly get more into the declutter mood, and then all of a sudden more and more just gets decluttered because, you know, you just like get in that zone. I feel like that's what's starting to happen. This is also, I filmed 2 declutters today, so I think like maybe I'm just like really in that mood right now. So this next one here is from Milani. This is their Sunlight Silky Matte Bronzer, and this is in the shade 01. So really pretty bronzer. I really like the design on it. This one is definitely more of a lighter tone on me. A lot of times I will wear this as a contour because, again, it's a little bit more cool toned also. So I can use this as a contour to just kind of define and then come in with a more warmer bronzer. But it's really pretty. I mean, I definitely recommend this one. A lot of people have talked highly of this one from Milani, and I'm going to keep it. Next up, I have my bronzer duo from Jouer. This is the light to medium duo. Hey. I'm a really big fan of this duo. This side, I do have some issues with hard pan. You can kind of see it there too. And I like try to use like the tape to help it. Someone was telling me about the tape trick. So I don't really experience it on this side though. It's really only on this side of the bronzer duo, but it's really pretty. I'd like to combine the two. I think both shades are great, but I usually just kind of mix them together. I keep thinking I'm going to pan this one because it looks like maybe there's some cracks in it, but nothing's really happening. So there's that, but I really do like my Jouer bronzer duo. Here are both of the swatches here, so I'm going to keep this one. Next up, I have the one from Charlotte Tilbury. This is the Airbrush bronzer. I have the shade 2 medium, so this is the really large bronzer. This was $55, and I did purchase this myself. I'm feeling a little bit flustered because I've started to have some hard pan issues, and like, it just looks odd, right? Like, I mean, I feel like we can all see that. Like, it's just been looking odd recently. And it's actually a little bit more of a lighter shade, if you can see like my swatch right here. But I feel like recently it's just been like harder and harder for me to get product onto my brush. And I would, if anyone has any tips on this, or if you've had, like, if you're experiencing the same thing, I would love to know. Like, I know one thing, I really tried to make sure if I'm ever swatching any products, making sure that my hands are completely dry, my fingers are dry. I have towels sitting next to me as I do this declutter because I've heard that, you know, hard pan can happen if you have anything wet and then you put it into a powder. That's a hard, like, so that's one thing I really try to be aware that I'm not doing. But with this one, I really don't understand what's happening because it started just a few uses into using the bronzer. So I'm a little bit frustrated because I feel like it's getting harder to use. It also just doesn't look nice, which might sound dumb, but like literally it's a $55 bronzer. Like, I want it to look pretty. So I'm very curious if anyone has any issues like this, and I would just love your feedback. But it is one of my newer bronzers. I'm gonna try to prolong the life out of it as best as I can, so I'm gonna keep this one. This was another gift that I received from a subscriber. This is a YSL bronzer. If you can see that it is engraved with my name, which is so stinking cool. This is their Bronzing Stones in the 01. It is just so beautiful. The packaging, the mirror, the imprint, my name, like all of it. It is so lovely. It is so beautiful. It's one of those that like I very rarely use because I just want to put it on display or something, kind of the same as the Tom Ford. This is the swatch of it right here. It is pretty. It's a little bit lighter, and again, just almost like a hint of like too warm for me, but it still is pretty. I mean, I definitely want to be keeping it around because I just think that it's pretty special. So I'm going to keep this one from YSL. I have this one here from Kosas, and this is their Golden Bronze Bronzer, and I got the shade medium. I was really sad about this one. I put this as, I don't know what was it, the overhyped bronzer maybe, or a disappointed bronzer. And so many people were raving about these. I think the shade match is very, very off for me. The photos online did look very deceiving. So this is the swatch right here. Clearly, compared to the other swatches, it is much too dark on me. It does have some shimmer to it, which I think is pretty, but I also found it to be very patchy. I can't get it to blend well. And just all around, instead of getting a different shade, I was like, I know that I don't like the formula. So I've been thinking about keeping it around because it's newer to my collection. And I was like, what if I mention it in future videos or wrap-ups? But honestly, now I kind of feel like I'm in that declutter mood. I think I'm just going to go ahead and just pass it on right now because I just don't see myself reaching for it again. The final bronzer is this one here from Dior, and this is the Dior Skin Mineral Nude Bronzer in 04. This is another one that was a gift, but it's super beautiful. Like even just like opening it up, I'm like, ooh, it's so pretty. It makes me feel so fancy. It is really heavily scented though, I will say that. Like also another thing, when I open it up, you can really smell it. And then here is the swatch of it right here. It is very soft. Once again, it's just like, it's very smooth, like not patchy at all. Just a hint too warm for me, I would say. Not like my absolute best shade match, but it makes me feel fun to say that I have a bronzer from Dior, and this was another one that I just think is a sweet gift, so I'm going to be keeping this around. All right, that's everything. Let me pull out all the bronzers and see how I did. All right, so here is an overview. This is what I am keeping. I'm keeping 16 and then decluttering 7. I feel very happy with this. Looking over the bronzers that I've kept, I want to keep all of them. So I hope that you enjoyed this new declutter. I hope that you found it helpful to see the swatches and also my thoughts on each of the bronzers. I really like to do my declutters this way just because like at my core and why I started in social media in the first place was to review products. So I just really like to talk my way through it and to talk about each of the products instead of doing a yes or no. So I know it makes my videos a little bit longer, but I still hope that you can enjoy them or take something away. So definitely let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let me know what you want to see next in my declutter series. And that though, if you did enjoy it, please make sure to give this video a thumbs up. I hope you also consider subscribing before you go, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.